the scariest thing about a lie is that it rarely sounds like a lie. Most of the time, it sounds normal, reasonable, familiar, soft enough to slip right past your defenses. You let it into your mind like it's harmless. And just a few minutes later, you start questioning your own feelings. Most people think the ones who get fooled are just naive, too trusting, too innocent, too easy to manipulate. But here's the truth that hits harder than most people expect. Most of us are not deceived because we lack intelligence. We are deceived because we want to believe. We want to believe the person we love is not hiding anything. We want to believe our best friend would never betray us. We want to believe our co-worker is not two-faced. We want to believe the person looking straight into our eyes could never be lying. And that is exactly where the trap begins. Because the best liars do not only use words, they use your hope. They use your fear of loss. They use your need for reassurance. They use the part of you that wants peace more than truth. They know that if they can give you an answer that feels smooth enough, you will do the rest. You will defend them inside your own mind. You will soften your own suspicion. You will push down that uneasy feeling in your stomach because you do not want to face what the truth might cost. Think about it. How many times have you felt that something was off, but talked yourself out of it? Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe they're just tired. Maybe it's not that serious. Maybe I'm making this bigger than it is. That is often the moment the lie starts winning. Not when they speak, but when you begin betraying your own intuition. And here's the part that changes everything. Once you understand how people actually lie, you stop looking at human behavior the same way. You stop listening only to words. You start watching what those words are doing to your clarity, to your body, to your confidence, to your ability to trust yourself. So, if you want this channel to help you see people more clearly, think more clearly, and stop letting emotion pull you in the wrong direction, subscribe now, because what comes next will make you notice things you've probably been missing for years. This is the part most people never fully understand. People do not always lie just to cover the truth. A lot of the time, they lie to manage your emotions. They lie so you stop asking. They lie so you keep trusting them. They lie so you feel guilty for even doubting them. They lie so their image stays clean inside your mind. And sometimes they lie simply to keep control. That's what makes lying so dangerous. Because it's not always about one full statement. Sometimes it's about shaping your internal world. There are lies that sound small. I was busy. I'm fine. I just forgot. It's nothing. You're reading too much into it. Harmless, right? But pay attention. Some lies do not hurt you immediately. They do something quieter. They make you confused, then uncertain, then mentally off balance, then suspicious of your own memory, then ashamed for asking in the first place. And that is where things get dangerous. The most dangerous lie is not always the biggest lie. It is the lie that makes you stop trusting yourself. Here's a simple, everyday example. You ask, "Why didn't you answer when I called last night?" A truthful person usually tries to clarify the event. A manipulative liar often shifts the spotlight. Instead of answering clearly, they say, "What's going on with you lately? Why are you making such a big deal out of something so small? Why are you always so suspicious? You're being dramatic." Notice what just happened. The conversation moved away from what they did and turned into a conversation about how you reacted. That is not just hiding. That is emotional redirection. A truthful person usually wants to make things clearer. A liar often wants to make you foggier, That is why, if you only listen to the content of the answer, you will miss what matters most. You have to ask a different question. Not just, does this answer sound reasonable? But, what is this answer doing to my mind? Is it making things clearer or more blurry? Do I feel informed or spun around? Do I feel closer to the truth or farther from it? Do I feel calmer because things make sense, or calmer because I was emotionally shut down? That difference matters. Naive people listen for whether the answer sounds nice. Aware people watch for what the answer does. Does it bring light or does it create fog? If you have ever had a conversation where you walked away feeling more confused than when you started, where you knew something was wrong but could not quite name it, then you know exactly what this feels like. If that's happened to you, type 1" the comments. Because one of the biggest shifts in adult life is learning to notice when someone is not answering your question, they are managing your perception. And once you understand why people lie, you stop being hypnotized by smooth voices and calm faces. You start noticing the thing that actually gives them away. Most people make the same mistake when trying to spot a liar. They look for one sign: avoiding eye contact, touching the face, blinking too much, swallowing hard, talking too fast, talking too slow. But here's the truth: there is no single sign that proves someone is lying. A nervous person can avoid eye contact. A tired person can stumble over words. An anxious person can blink too much. A shy person can look uncomfortable even when telling the truth. If you focus on isolated behaviors, you will misread people all the time. What you need to look for is not one sign. You need to look for a mismatch. A mismatch between words and tone. A mismatch between the story and the body. A mismatch between the calm face and the tension leaking through the jaw, the shoulders, the eyes. A mismatch between the person's normal rhythm and the one they suddenly shift into when a certain topic appears. That is where the truth often leaves fingerprints. But to spot a mismatch, you need something even more important: a baseline. In simple terms, you need to know what this person looks like when they are normal. Do they usually talk fast? Do they always use their hands when they speak? Do they naturally avoid eye contact? Do they always pause before answering? Do they speak in short sentences or long ones? If you do not know they're normal, you will not recognize when they stop being themselves. And that matters, because catching deception is not about finding weird behavior. It is about noticing when someone suddenly shifts away from their normal self. That shift is the signal. Imagine someone who usually speaks openly and casually. They joke easily. They answer quickly. Their body feels loose. But then, a certain topic comes up. Suddenly, their eyes drift away. Their mouth tightens. Their shoulders rise. Their voice changes. Their answers become too careful. That change matters more than any single body language trick. In relationships, this helps you notice when someone who is normally open becomes strangely guarded around one subject. At work, it helps you notice when a coworker sounds normal, discussing everything except responsibility. In family conversations, it helps you see when someone appears calm on the surface, but their whole body is quietly signaling stress. Most people miss this because they only hear the words. Perceptive people notice the shift. So here's something practical you can do. Before you get suspicious of anyone, observe them in harmless conversations when they talk about food. A funny story, something simple from their day, the weather, a random memory. Notice the rhythm, the eyes, the gestures, the pace, the tone. That is your baseline. Then when a sensitive topic comes up, watch what changes. That change is often where the truth starts leaving tracks. And if you've ever looked at someone close to you and thought, something is different, I just can't explain it, then your intuition was probably picking up a mismatch before your conscious mind had words for it. If you felt that before, type 1" the comments. Because intuition does not always scream. Sometimes it just whispers, something doesn't match. Do not use that whisper to convict someone instantly. But do not silence it too quickly either. A lot of the time, that whisper is your brain collecting dozens of small signals before your conscious mind fully catches up. This is where most people accidentally make things easier for liars. They ask weak questions. Are you lying to me? Did you do it? Were you there? Did you go out last night? These questions are too easy. Why? Because they give the other person almost nothing to do. All they have to say is, no. And now the burden shifts back to you. But smart observers do something different. They do not ask questions just to hear one word. They ask questions to watch how the story gets built. Instead of asking, did you go out last night? Ask, what kept you out so late? Who were you with? Where were you before that? What part of last night stands out most in your memory? What happened right before that? Who saw you last? See the difference? Now you are not offering them a short escape route. You are forcing them to enter a narrative. And this is where liars often begin to slip. A truthful person usually remembers from lived experience. They may not be perfect. They may forget exact times. They may pause. They may remember things out of order. But it still feels like they are walking through something that actually happened. A liar is different. They are not remembering from experience. They are constructing with a goal, and their goal is not accuracy. Their goal is survival. They care less about what is true and more about what sounds safe. That's why deceptive stories often fall into two patterns. The first pattern, the story is too neat. Everything is clean, tidy, convenient, perfectly timed, perfectly phrased, no unnecessary detail, no natural human messiness, no emotional texture. It sounds polished, too polished. The second pattern, the story starts getting assembled in real time. Each new question forces a new patch, a new addition, a new correction, a new angle, and suddenly you are not watching someone remember. You are watching them build. That is the line you want to remember. Do not ask just to hear the answer. Ask to watch how their mind works. Here's a simple example. Imagine asking a child, how was school today? If they're telling the truth, they might answer in a messy, natural way. At recess, I dropped my pencil. Then later the teacher called on me. And then real memory often comes out imperfectly. But if they are hiding something, say a bad grade, their answer may become strangely fast. Nothing happened. It was normal. Why? Because they want to close that door as quickly as possible. And here is where it gets even more interesting. Liars rarely collapse on the first question. They usually collapse on the second, third, or fourth. The questions that force them to maintain the same story without enough time to rebuild it. That is where cracks begin to show. This is one of the best signs to learn. Because when something is real, it usually has texture. Some parts are clear, some parts are fuzzy, some details come naturally, some details are random, some parts feel emotionally alive, some parts are slightly messy. That is how real memory often behaves. A fake story tends to fall into one of three patterns. The first, it's too clean, too smooth, too polished, too perfectly organized. You ask, and they have a nice answer, ready every time. No stumbling, no searching, no natural detours, no emotional friction. It sounds good, but it doesn't feel alive. That's the strange part. Most people assume truthful people always sound more fluent, but not always. Truth comes from memory, and memory is alive. It moves, it shifts, it has rough edges. A prepared lie often sounds like a table that was wiped too perfectly, clean to the point of suspicion. The second pattern, vagueness. This is when someone keeps leaving themselves room to escape. Maybe, I think, probably, I guess, kind of, sort of, could have been. Of course, honest people sometimes speak uncertainly. But when the topic matters and someone repeatedly avoids standing fully inside their story, pay attention, listen to the energy of these phrases. I think I already told you. I probably didn't see anyone. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I guess it happened like that. What do they all have in common? Distance. The speaker sounds detached from the story, not inside it, not anchored in it, not willing to grip it fully. A truthful person may say something like, "Yeah, I was there. It was a little after 8. I don't remember the exact minute, but I remember the place was crowded." That sounds different. It has uncertainty, where uncertainty makes sense, but still feels rooted in reality. The third pattern, the story breaks, when you disrupt the rhythm. This is a powerful trick. Liars often need mental rail tracks. They want to tell the story in the order they prepared it. If you suddenly interrupt the sequence, they wobble. Imagine someone says, "After work I stopped by a coffee shop. Then I went home." Do not just nod. Gently interrupt. Wait. Before the coffee shop, who was the last person to see you? Who were you texting right before that? What happened just before you got there? You said it was around 8, right? A truthful person may pause for a second and go back into memory. A liar often goes back into the script, and scripts are only strong when the train stays on the rails. The moment you change the route, they now have to protect the original lie while inventing a new piece fast enough to match it. That is when errors appear. Times shift, names change, sequences reverse, details overlap, explanations get strangely forceful. What matters is this: liars rarely fall apart because of one huge question. They usually crack under small, off-rhythm questions that seem harmless. That is why calm people see more than emotional people. They do not need to argue. They just return to the old detail. "Wait, I thought you said 8. Hold on, you said you were alone, right? Before that, where exactly were you?" A truthful person does not fear being asked again. A liar often does, because every follow-up question costs energy, and protecting something fake always costs more energy than remembering something real. If these patterns sound familiar in a way that makes you a little uncomfortable, type 1" the comments. Because the truth is, none of us are strangers to deception. Some of us just haven't learned how to name what we were already feeling. This part matters a lot because many people think spotting lies is only about catching contradictions. It's not. Sometimes the biggest sign is how the person makes you feel. When someone can no longer hold their story together, they often switch strategies. They stop protecting the story and start managing you. They make you tired. They make you confused. They make you feel guilty for asking. They make you defend your tone. Instead of examining their behavior, they may change the subject quickly. "Oh, that reminds me. Forget it. It's not a big deal. Why are you focused on that right now? Why do you keep asking the same thing?" You always make everything so serious. They may get angry, not because they are innocent, but because anger is a very effective smokescreen. Once someone gets emotional, most people back off. They stop pursuing the truth and start trying to calm the other person down. And that is how the liar wins. There is an even more dangerous version of this. They make you doubt yourself. You always imagine things. "I already told you. Why are you doing this again?" You're way too sensitive. Are you stressed or something? Maybe the problem is how you're interpreting it. Sound familiar? Now the conversation is no longer about what they did. Now the conversation is about what is wrong with you. Here's the truth bomb. When someone cannot defend their story, they often try to weaken your trust in your own intuition. A good person usually wants to clarify. A deceptive person often wants to confuse. That is the difference. So the next time you are in a difficult conversation, ask yourself, after talking to this person, do I feel clearer or foggier? Do I feel closer to the truth or farther from it? Do I feel like something was explained or like I got pulled into an emotional maze? That question will save you, because mature awareness is not just asking, what did they say? It is asking, where did their answer try to take my mind? If the answer pulls you away from the issue, pull it back calmly. Let's talk about that later. Right now I want to stay with this. Wait, I'm still asking about what happened earlier. Don't change the subject. I want to understand this part first, that calmness matters, because calm people make masks fall faster. Sometimes what exhausts you is not even the lie itself. It is the way the conversation ends, with you feeling guilty, unstable, and confused. If you have ever walked away from a conversation like that, where you started with a clear concern and ended up questioning your own mind, type 1" the comments. Because sometimes the first step out of manipulation is simply admitting that you have been inside it. After all of this, seeing through lies is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It is not about turning into a paranoid person who overanalyzes every blink and every pause. It is not about living in defense mode. The goal is simpler than that. The goal is to stop living inside fake stories, to stop being spun around by polished explanations, to stop giving your trust away too cheaply, to stop letting smooth language overpower what your body already knows. You do not need to know everyone's secrets. You just need to know when something stops matching, when someone is making you confused instead of clear, when an answer is trying to shut down your intuition, when it is time to stop listening only to words and start watching to the person. Here's the truth. You do not need to be special to see through a liar. You just need to stop rushing to believe. Stop being so afraid of what the truth might cost. Stop betraying your own quiet signals. If you remember only 3 things from this video, remember these. Do not just listen to words. Watch for the mismatch. Do not just hunt for strange behavior. Compare it to their baseline. Do not just hear the answer. Ask whether it brings clarity or confusion. And this last part matters most. Some lies do not just teach you about other people. They teach you about yourself. They show you how many signals you ignored because you were afraid to lose the relationship. How many times you made yourself blind because you wanted peace more than truth. How often you silenced your own body to preserve someone else's image. That is why adulthood is not about trusting people more. It is about trusting the right people better. So if you change only one thing, after today, change this. The next time something feels off, do not rush to soothe yourself out of it. Pause. Look a little longer. Listen a little longer. Stay with the discomfort a little longer. Give the truth a chance to reveal itself. Because liars can be skilled, very skilled, but they are rarely stronger than someone who stays calm long enough to see clearly. And if you made it this far, ask yourself one honest question. Out of all the signs in this video, which one have you ignored the most in your own life? The contradiction, the avoidance, or that disturbing moment when you started doubting yourself? If you want more content like this, where we don't just talk about other people's psychology, but learn how to protect ourselves More intelligently, subscribe and stay with the channel, because sometimes the thing that changes your life is not learning a brand new secret. Sometimes it is seeing an old truth in a way you were never ready to see before. Growing up is not learning to distrust everyone. It is learning to trust accurately, see clearly, and stop betraying the honest signals inside yourself.